All right, everybody. It's going to be a little short video today. I'm actually going to be heading down to a celebration of life for a friend of mine. So I did want to read a little bit of good rockin' tonight for y'all to have something today to watch with the other videos that I've loaded the past couple days. Thank you, members, subscribers, those of you that leave me super thanks today and have left me super thanks. I appreciate that as well. And yeah, let's get to reading here. I guess I'll fix my tie later. All right, so we had a private compartment on the train, and when we arrived at the station in Paris, we spotted two generals hailing a cab. Barely, we read this, but it's kind of funny. Barely concealing our laughter, we saluted them as we, a bunch of draftees, climbed into a limousine and drove through the streets of Paris to the Hotel de Gaulle. Now, here I was, a 22-year-old high school dropout who'd never been out of Chicago until the Army took me out. In luxury, in a magnificent suite of rooms on the top floor of the finest hotel in Paris. Order anything you want, boys, Elvis said, flashing that crooked grin and executing a grand sweep of his arm. Just order. Now, Elvis instructed me to make reservations for the famed Lido Show. A few German girls we knew from Frankfurt happened to be in Paris, as was another of his Army friends, Curry Grant, and we took them along. Elvis put on his blue dress uniform, proud to be a soldier. The rest of us didn't own dress uniforms, so we wore regular suits. Now, as we were leaving the hotel, I noticed the lobby was filling with young girls. See, word had gotten out that Elvis was staying at the Hotel de Gaulle. But the girls didn't bother him. They just kept their distance and watched us leave. Elvis asked the driver to give us a little tour of Paris before we went to the Lido. Look, Joe, he said, reaching from his back seat to the front and tapping my head. There's the Eiffel Tower. The highest paid tour guide in the world was showing me Paris, the city of light, the most romantic city in the world. Well, we drove past the Notre Dame Cathedral. Hey, let's stop and see if the hunchback's home, Elvis suggested. The chauffeur thought that Elvis's remarks were very funny. Now, after an hour sightseeing, we arrived at the Lido, where the manager was waiting to escort us to our stage-side center table. Now, everyone's eyes were on Elvis. It drove home what I'd nearly forgotten, that my Army buddy was a world-class celebrity. And that was a strange feeling. We were mesmerized by the procession of long-stemmed, bare-breasted beauties on stage. Throughout the show, I noticed the dancers kept gleaming and glancing at our table, stealing looks at Elvis. He leaned across to me, and this is what he said. What do you think so far? Well, I keep thinking that this is just a wonderful dream. I'm going to wake up any time now, I told him truthfully. This is only the beginning, Joe. He was getting a big kick out of my enjoyment. Of course, we went backstage to meet the showgirls and singer Lynn Renaud, whose voice Elvis loved. The girls were thrilled to meet Elvis, and to our surprise, half of them turned out to be English. What are you girls doing after the show, we asked. Well, they usually frequented Le Bantu, which is a female impersonator club, they said, so we invited all 30 of them to meet us there after the second show. Now, Le Bantu was a showbiz dive, packed from stem to stem with even more gorgeous women than the Lido. Unfortunately, they all turned out to be expert female impersonators, including one of the most beautiful creatures I'd ever seen. Interesting. There you go, Joe. Joe's talking about the most beautiful creature he'd ever seen, and it was a female impersonator. As we sat around talking, a few of us, especially Cliff Gleaves, were knocking back drinks. Elvis, don't you want a drink, I asked. Order me a Coke, he said. Don't you want a real drink? Nah, I don't drink alcohol. Not even a beer? No, my relatives drank enough for me. I saw too many drunks in my younger days, and that's why you'll never see alcohol in my house. I just don't allow it. Well, I thought about it and realized that I hadn't seen any alcohol in the house, not even a beer. I don't really like to drink myself, Joe told Elvis. I could still remember getting drunk on beer with some neighborhood some neighborhood boys one night, then going home and crawling into bed as the room spun. At the end of the table, Cliff was nearly was clearly feeling no pain as he grabbed a chair next to the magnificent girl and set about getting acquainted, whispering sweet nothings and nibbling on her ear. When the Lido chorus girls arrived, one of them said to Elvis, "You know, the girl your friend is talking to is not a girl, it's one of the impersonators." See, Cliff Gleaves was having a great time, so we enjoyed the romantic scene playing out before us for several moments before Elvis finally told somebody to break the news to the lover boy. Now, when Cliff learned he was romancing a man, he jumped from his chair as if he'd been electrocuted, knocking it over. "Get away from me!" he screamed. "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" Elvis and the rest of us were doubled over, hooting and screaming with laughter. Now, the Lido girls were between 18 and 21 years old and lived together in a dormitory. We were having such a great time that they missed their 1 a.m. curfew, and they couldn't go home. We had a commodious suite, so we gallantly invited them back. We ordered up food, had a good time, and then whatever happened, happened, is what Joe said. I took a beauty from the Lido to bed. Elvis went off to his room with Nancy Parker, which she was an American redhead who ice skated in the show. Anybody hear of Nancy Parker? That's what I want to know. Anybody have pictures? Anybody seen Nancy Parker? Is she still living? I'm going to have to hunt some pictures up of this Nancy Parker. All right, so Cliff probably talked some girls off. Lamar went to sleep with the newspaper. Jurgen was married, so he slept alone. Of course, there were too many girls, so the extras slept on the couches, chairs, and floor. Now, when I woke and wandered into the living room, gorgeous women were draped all over the place. And as I stepped over their slumbering bodies, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. The next morning, we were sightseeing in the limousine. Now, Elvis never went with us, so, well, that's kind of contradictory, right? Because maybe on the way there Elvis went, but he was the one that's pointing out the Eiffel Tower. It says Elvis never went with us, so someone always stayed back in case he needed something. We returned to pick up Elvis for his late afternoon karate instructions. And then we did some more sightseeing. In the evening, we returned to the hotel to prepare for another night of hitting the clubs. Well, I went downstairs to get cigarettes for myself and cigars for Elvis. In the lobby, I spotted a beautiful French woman with dark hair and striking blue eyes seated in a chair reading a newspaper. I summoned up my nerve to introduce myself, and I told her I was on leave from Germany. Her name was Nicole, and she accepted my offer for a drink in the hotel bar. She said she was a secretary in Paris and was visiting a friend at the hotel. Well, we chatted for about 20 minutes, and I mentioned I was stationed in Friedberg. "Isn't that where Elvis Presley's stationed?" she casually asked. "Yes," I answered, but I wanted her to like me, even if I wasn't associated with Elvis. "I see him around the base once in a while," I lied. Then I asked her, "Well, what are you doing tonight?" "Nothing special," she said. "Well, how would you like to join me and some friends for dinner and the Lido Show?" Or the Lido, L-I-D-O, I don't know how to pronounce that. "That sounds like fun," she said. Well, I excused myself and said I'd be back to pick her up in 30 minutes. When I got to the suite, I told Elvis excitedly about the young woman and asked if it was okay to bring her along. Sure, no problem," Elvis said. "She's down in the lobby," I told her. I told her we'd be down in 30 minutes, and I went to my room and sprayed on extra aftershave. Well, that night Elvis was dressed to kill in his black mohair suit and with a white shirt and red tie. We all wore black suits. In fact, our group resembled the mafia more than a bunch of GIs. We strolled over to where Nicole was sitting in the lobby, and I introduced her to everyone. Her mouth fell open when I presented Elvis. "Nice to meet you," Elvis said politely. Cliff elbowed me in the ribs. "Not bad," he whispered. Nicole took my arm as we left the hotel, and we all piled into the limo. As we sat at our table, Nicole between Elvis and me, eating dinner and making small talk, I noticed the manager approach Elvis and whisper in her ear. 5 minutes later, Elvis excused himself, saying he wanted a word with me in private. We left the table and went into the WC. "Joe, I got something I got to tell you," Elvis said. All sorts of possibilities went through my head, but I knew it had something to do with Nicole. Maybe she was a lady of the night, or maybe she wasn't even a lady. The manager just told me, Elvis said, the manager just told me that Nicole's a reporter for a big Paris newspaper, Elvis said with a pained expression. He didn't want to hurt my pride. She's just here to get a story. I'm sure you didn't know, but these things happen around me all the time. Well, I tried to hide my stung feelings as I apologized to Elvis. I'll take care of this right away, I promised. Elvis patted me on the back like a big brother, and we walked towards the table to finish dinner. Now, it was hard not to say anything to Nicole, but I was cool. Elvis was great, even extra nice to her. After the show was over, Elvis signed a few autographs for American Tourist, and everyone went backstage. I told Nicole I needed to talk to her alone and walked her out to the lobby. We sat on the couch. Nicole, are you a newspaper reporter? I asked in a normal tone of voice. I was determined she was not to see how angry and hurt I was. Why do you ask? She asked. So she responded guardedly. Someone told me, I said. You said you were a secretary, so apparently you didn't want me to know. You knew that if you had told me, I wouldn't have asked you out. Goodbye, it was nice talking to you. So I left her there in the lobby and went backstage, where Elvis was talking with some girls and Lynn Renaud in her dressing room. He looked at me as I entered the room, and I gave him the high sign. Elvis winked back, and I felt better. Well, we carried on in Paris for 9 straight days. Every night, the Lido or the Crazy Horse, the meeting the dancers back at Le Bantu, every night a beautiful woman. We all switched partners, but no one dared to hit on Elvis's girls. That's where I'm going to end here. Thank you so much. I've got to get going. I'd read more. Be a sad day. You know, this the third person we've lost here recently. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourself. Thanks for subscribing. Go find my Facebook, Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos. TikTok's the same thing, Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos. And soon I'm going to change this to Joe Sins Rare Elvis Photos. So all 3 are all combined. And I'm sure Elvis is looking down right now, very appreciative of every one of you fans that love him, honor him, cherish him, and protect him. Till next time, this is Rare Elvis Photos.